Welcome to the Talent Optimization Podcast, the go-to podcast for CEOs and HR professionals wanting to bridge the gap between the strategy and tactical implementation of talent optimization within their organizations. Through interviews, predictive index, and personal experience, your host, Tracy Shirk, helps you discover the facets of talent optimization from both a CEO and HR perspective to truly create the dream team for your organization. Are you ready? Let's get started.
For you, our podcast listener, thank you so much for being with us over the last 2.5 years. And we have a treat for you coming up as we roll out our new podcast format. So welcome. My name is Tracy Austin, and I am the Chief Talent Officer here at Elevated Talent Consulting. And we are talking today about gratitude. So the last couple of episodes on the podcast, I have been sharing some of the insights that I share with our audience when we do our live speaking engagements, whether it's for organizations or for associations, for conferences, etc. So the one we're going to be chatting about today is the culture of gratitude. And that felt like such a great transition as we transition into this new podcast format that you'll be hearing much more about next week. So with that, this is probably one of our most popular presentations. We have presented this to Wisconsin Association of Personnel, WASPA. We've presented this to, I think, 4 different SHRM chapters and a number of different organizations. So what's really important about gratitude, right? So one of the things that we hear so often is, well, why is gratitude important? What impact does it have? And here's a quote from a Forbes article on the business impact of gratitude. And so, a ripple of acknowledgement and appreciation that surges forward, transforming and inspiring us, improving business outcomes. The more gratitude growing around, the more human connections are being made, and more collaboration, engagement, and innovation across the organization. So when we think about gratitude, it's really that. It's sharing very specifically what it is that another has done that, you're grateful for. And, here's a couple of statistics. 93% of employees who reported feeling valued said that they are motivated to do their best work. So feeling valued is, comes from that gratitude from others. 88% of employees who reported feeling valued said that they are engaging in their work, and 81% of employees stated that they would be motivated to work harder if their boss expressed gratitude. And that comes from a Gallup article. So think about that. 81% of employees stated that they would be motivated to work harder if their boss expressed gratitude. So when we think about that, what is gratitude and what's the impact of it? And we know that if 81% want to hear it, who's not hearing it? So 60% never or rarely express gratitude, and 74% never or rarely express gratitude to their boss. So think about that. 81% of us want to hear, that our boss is grateful for us, but 74% of us never expressed our gratitude to our boss. Remember, these are all human relationships and they are reciprocal. And so often what we want so desperately, we fail to give to others. So what I want to do in our podcast today is go through a gratitude prescription. And when we kind of think about a gratitude prescription, it's really looking at what is it that we're grateful for others? So one is reflect on specific people, experiences, and behaviors that are meaningful in your life. So if I reflect on this audience that has been following us in our podcast for the last 2.5 years, I'm so grateful. And, we've heard that through our comments. We've gotten emails on it. We've gotten feedback on it on LinkedIn. We've got an engagement on it on LinkedIn. So I'm grateful because your feedback allows us to know, hey, what is it that our audience wants and needs? And what is it that you specifically need as you're growing either in your HR career, as you're growing your business? What does that look like? And so the first is to reflect, the second is why you're grateful, and then the third is to describe how you have benefited and specifically characterize the intentions, actions, and sacrifices made on your behalf. So, you as our podcast listeners are giving us something incredible, and that is your time. And we're so grateful for your time and, sharing that feedback with us as you listen into our podcast each week. And so thank you so much for that. So with that, there are just kind of one other thing that I wanted to talk about with gratitude this week, and that is the impact of gratitude in mental health. So there's definitely a positive correlation that improves your work environment. And when we look at gratitude and mental health, here's what gratitude does. It unshackles us from toxic emotions. So when we say thank you to another person, we're having these feel-good emotions versus the emotions that are toxic. And it allows us to break that. Gratitude also supports mental health, even when not shared with others. So, one of those key ways that we've, implemented gratitude for ourselves and with our clients is just writing down what are 3 things that you're grateful for each day. I will actually, text friends and say, hey, what's your grateful 8 for the day, right? What are those 8 things that you're grateful for? And what becomes really interesting is you start to look for 8 things in a day versus 8 things in general. And so if you do that grateful 8 every day, what ends up happening is you're starting to think about what those are, and they're very specific, and then they grow. And again, you don't have to share it with anyone else, right? Gratitude supports mental health even when not shared with others. So even if you write it down for yourself, it still does the same thing. And gratitude has long-lasting impacts on the brain. And so what specifically are those impacts? What does that look like? And so this is specifically from UC Davis Health said gratitude has a 7% reduction in biomarkers of inflammation in patients with cognitive heart failure due to gratitude. Harvard is stating that 30% lower risk of heart disease among women who scored high in optimism and a sense of well-being. So when we think about this, gratitude has an impact specifically on our health, which also means that it's having an impact specifically on that insurance. And so when you think about wellness programs inside your organization, how can you build in very specifically gratitude into your wellness programs? And so here's a great quote from JFK, which is, as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. And so with that, again, I just want to thank you so much for listening in and following us each week. And I'm so excited to share with you what we have been working on and what these new podcasts will be in the next couple of weeks. So thank you so much. And I'm going to leave you with one last quote, and that is, gratitude is riches, complaint is poverty. And that is a quote by Doris Day. So with that, thank you so much, and we will see you next week. Have a great week.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Talent Optimization Podcast. You'll find more tools and resources for CEOs and HR professionals looking to bridge the strategies versus implementation gap of talent optimization at elevatedtalentconsulting.com. We've also created a free, valuable resource for you to begin bridging the gap called the Talent Optimization Foundation Membership Program. You can access it for free at elevatedtalentconsulting.com/foundation. Be sure to tune in next week for another episode to learn more about talent optimization and creating a dream team for your organization.